we are competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
Yeah. Hello, and welcome to this moment where we will talk about consultancy in the new paradigm. I'm Veronica Sayanox, and last year I had also this pod about how about where I talked to people about consultancy and with people who wanted to become consultants and their experiences and so on. So today with me I have Ingrid and Nils Erik, and you are both have your own company. So I am very curious to hear about you, Nils Erik. What do you do today in your own company?
Well, nice to be here to this talk. Yeah, I work with developing new construction materials from renewable wood sources, primarily linden and salix, willow.
Is it a big market for that right now, or are you the only one that you know of that you're specialized in this?
I'm not the only one who works with developing products with willow, no, but we're not very many in Sweden.
Mm. So how did you get into this? Why these types of wood? What made you interested in starting this?
Well, we see a great demand for wood in the world today because we want to replace, of course, plastics and non-renewable sources with wood. We also have diminishing forests. We're losing a lot of forest land both in the tropics and in the northern hemisphere, and we're mainly using wood from the northern hemisphere for very short-lived products. So inspired by an idea that's been around for a long time in the US, I'm trying to find ways to grow wood with a shorter rotation time that can then be used for products that also have a shorter rotation time today, since we're using our wood at a very short time considering how long it takes to produce. And willow and linden grow very fast.
I know hemp is not a tree, but have you also explored this material?
Yeah, I've looked into the hemp industry too, which is also coming back into Sweden. We have had an hemp industry here before. Now it's finding its way back again. And hemp is definitely interesting, but I don't work with it myself, even if I have acquaintances who do.
So what path in life made you got you where you are today? Like what did you work with before? Do you have some certain education, or how did you end up with your company?
Well, I have education in farming and forestry, education in how we traditionally, at least in the last 50 years, have been farming and doing forestry in Scandinavia. And then also I've studied to become a biologist. And you could say all these three educations that I have then have led me to become more and more skeptical that we can continue supplying our needs for wood with the way we run forestry today. We need to find other ways to secure our needs of wood.
Do you do that full time now with your company and consultancy?
Well, I still do some freelance writing too for newspapers within the agricultural field.
Okay. Is it like scientific papers or just articles or what kind of writing?
Farmers' papers. That, like for instance, oil seed producers of Sweden. I will write technical articles for them, for their papers,
Okay.
so on. So it's specialized articles for certain sectors of the farming industry. And then also I've been helping researchers with oak, talking about I have one business working with the most fast-growing tree we have and one working with the most slow-growing long-term tree we have. So I also both help researchers who are studying oak, and I also work with collecting acorns for nurseries when there are acorns at that in the fall. We have a business that I run together with about 10 other people, or different small companies who help each other to collect and sort and package acorns for tree nurseries.
Okay.
And that's going to continue also, so I'll still have one foot in the fast growing and one in the long term forestry.
That's so interesting. I've never heard about this topic at all. Have you heard of
No.
No.
And I feel really that I sit next to an expert that
Yeah.
knows everything about this, and it's so cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's nice to hear that it's what I'm saying is viewed as being an expert. But that's one thing you definitely I learned as a biologist, and I don't think I'm alone with that. You start studying biology because now I want to understand nature. I want to really be able to describe nature. And when you're done with your education after 4 or 5 years, you realize you don't know very much. Nature is extremely complex. Ecosystems are extremely complex. Just why does a leaf open now in the spring? We really don't know very much. So
That's true.
But this is not your field.
No, it's not.
Please tell me about your background.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I since 25 years, so I run an education company that do education mainly for municipalities in Sweden, and have been doing that for all these years. But lately we also do educational programs for private companies that do similar things that the municipalities, like elderly care, HVB homes, and companies that take care of people with disabilities, for instance.
Okay.
So we have a wide target group. So in municipalities it could be politicians that we do education for, or it could be people that are employed either in school or elderly care or in environmental departments in municipalities. So of course I'm not the expert that can do all these educations for all these people, but I run my company as a consultant company, so I work together with 25 to 30 consultants that are among the best in Sweden. Some are recognized
in
as
your
the best
company.
in
You're not alone. You have employees.
It's my company, and
Yeah.
I have 2 employees now.
Okay.
When we were bigger in the administration, we were 11 people. But now it has developed in a good way, but we don't need to be that many. But we have consultants. So if a municipality calls us and wants a specific course or education, we have very good consultants and experts. It could be researchers. It could be people like you actually, and it could be teachers or.
So depending on the need, you can kind of create
exactly. Yeah, we do.
the-
So we are quite good at that actually. So we half of all our courses are made by or for designed for a specific customer. So nowadays it's we do conferences and courses, and we have recorded courses, which is much popular now. And it came with COVID, of course, when people could not attend in real life. So there were those digital courses. But we do record a lot of courses in a studio with a professional technician and, like here, setups with the right equipment and light and sound and everything. So it has to be good quality in the recordings. So we sell that quite a lot nowadays. But of course, people would like to meet as well, so they do go to courses.
So where do you travel to mostly? Is it south of Sweden, all Sweden?
We have our office in Malmö, but since very much is digital, also communication. We have customers in northern Sweden, like Haparanda, Luleå, Arjeplog. Those really
more
Kiruna.
digital customer, or
No,
do you actually go there?
It could be that our consultants go there. Because sometimes they want that. They want a meeting, they want to discuss. It's easier when you see
can't
each
replace
other.
that even with
No,
Zoom.
but of course it is a cost added to taking the consultant to like Kiruna, for instance. But it's really fun. And what thrives me is that I've always wanted to develop. I am a typical engineer, I would say. I have grown to be, very entrepreneurial, which is not good always. But
That's what I was so curious about. Like,
yeah.
why? What led you to start the company? What made you say, "Okay, today's the day I'm going to start this company and have these
I started in
educations"?
2001, and the summer before we were in France for holiday, the family, and I wasn't really happy with my employment in a similar company. So I had a talk to myself in the bedroom, and I said, either you have to do what your boss says, because she decides, or you do something else. You cannot continue to argue with her about what is right or wrong and strategies and everything. So that only takes negative energy, or it gives you negative energy. So I decided to start my own company and to build it from start, because it was easy to take her customers with me that I knew and the consultants as well, but I didn't want to do that. I would like to be able to see her in her face if I met her sometime. So it's really exciting to see people grow, because that is what they mostly do when they learn new things. I think you experience that as well when you have courses or you teach others about your expertise. So when it lands in new skills and competence, that is really satisfactory. So I want to make a change in
And that's
society.
what keeps you going also too.
Yeah, and actually when I started...
People never stop growing if you teach them
No,
new
that's
things all the
true.
time.
And there are many like us, so we are not unique in any way. But there were 4 things that were important to me when I started. One was to be happy at work, because I wasn't. And the next one was to, let's see if I remember. Yeah, of course, make a salary so I can live on it. And the next thing was not to work more than 40 hours per week. Okay, there are ups and downs, but in general. And since I had small kids at the time, I also wanted to have 11 weeks of vacation on a yearly basis, because that's when the kids were out from school, more or less. So those 4 guidelines made me start the company. Yeah.
So did you work many weekends?
No,
and so
actually
on,
not.
So when you started the company, you just said, okay, I'm all in now. 100%, you only do this.
Yeah.
So how long before you could actually make a month's salary?
At once, almost.
At once, okay.
Yeah.
The need was so
Yeah, and I
clear
knew
that,
the work. since I have been doing that for 15 years before. But of course now I have to find new customers, and but I knew the need for different courses, so it wasn't that hard. And we did a lot of EU projects that our customers applied for EU funds, so they can buy education amongst others things, and yeah, that was actually very easy those days. Then there have been ups and downs, of course, like it is in society.
But you could always pay your bills.
Yeah.
It's the most important.
Yeah, that's most important, and contribute with half of it to the family.
Yeah, exactly.
My husband is employed, so he has his
Okay,
salary.
so he has, yeah.
But it was really important for me to bring in around half of the money
Yeah,
to
of course.
the.
Yeah.
That's important for your self confidence and. To be proud of what you're doing, you also need to earn money. Otherwise, it's a hobby.
Yeah,
more or
yeah,
less.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Nils-Erik, what would you give advice to someone who is thinking about starting their own company, for example, or being a consultant themselves? Do you have any advice or?
Well, if you just look at I don't know how many of you who are watching this are in Sweden or know how Sweden works and so on, but I mean, you could say in Sweden, general has a quite big of a bureaucracy, a big state administration, many state authorities. Most things you want to do or develop require permits, fees of different levels and so on. One of the few things that does not require a fee, that requires filling in one paper, nothing more, is starting a company. It isn't harder than that. Then of course you have obligations, you have to do your bookkeeping, you have to pay taxes of course, but it's still, starting a company is free of charge and very simple in Sweden compared to many other things. So if you have an idea and you believe in it, just do it. And if it doesn't work, if it isn't what you wanted, if it doesn't feel good, just
then you know that. So then you know that you at least tried.
Then you can also end it. It's not complicated either.
Not the end of the world.
Well, that goes for, I mean, small companies that you run yourself. If you start cooperatives or
yeah, no, it's we focus on consultancy, so we don't have to take the bigger subjects. But,
well, I mean, you can become a consultant very easily in Sweden.
Yeah.
So what do you what do you think? Do you have any advice why people should? What's so great about it? Except what you were just told with, because you had family and everything. And
there are many things, like quality in life. You decide, you're your own boss, and you decide what you want to work with or not. And but of course, you don't know every month if there will be any salary on the 25th. You cannot know that, so that has happened, of course. But I've also had higher salaries sometimes when I could afford it, and that's also nice. Yeah, I think like you said, Nils-Erik, if you have a good idea and you know what your business could be, go for it. I think it's a bit more complicated when you have employees, because then you have a responsibility as an employer.
Yeah, of course.
You cannot just say, no, I'm tired of this, I shut down the company, because that affects people in a really bad way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has to be done more wisely than to sell the company or have someone else taking over it in some way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Myself, like last year when I had this podcast, I was home with my smallest child, but before that I was a student at the Hållbar livsmedelsentreprenör. and
Sustainable food development.
sustainable food entrepreneur, to be exact.
Yeah.
But also, I quit my full-time job to go to study this because it's a passion. I want to also make a change, but I didn't know how to do it because I didn't have the competence. So I dreamed about having my own company and being able to offer people something. The problem was I did not have a clear, I want to make this change or I'm good at this. So it's like, okay, if I start a company, what would I do? But then as time went by, then I got a little small projects, like a project coordinator or helping out with the education that I have, that I went to, but the later classes. So just small when I was home with my child, and just to have something to do, but not too much, no deadlines or anything like that. But I had it as a job so I could get paid for it. But since then, even though I don't have a clear vision, I still started a company. So I'm now a consultant, you can say. Yeah. But I don't have a clear vision of what I want. I know I want to make a change, but I don't have this. I don't feel like right now I have the specialist competence in something right now. I just want to let it grow and see what happens.
But when did you start your company? How long have you been?
A few weeks ago.
Oh, so
yeah, it's very,
then
we're still in the paperwork stage. We are registered and everything,
You
but
will
it's still in the
find
paint.
out.
So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
But I went totally the other way because for a year I was like, okay, I don't have a special competence, and I'm just kind of a generalist. But it still works out. I still have this little consultancy projects or not assignments. I'm looking for another word. Job. Yeah. But that does not pay my bills. I have a full-time job elsewhere, so I just have this on my other time. But it's.
Do you think one day you will finish your work and when you have your idea of the company?
I don't know yet. That's what makes it exciting. Still strange, because usually you start a company when you know what to do, you find a need.
Yeah.
But I'm in a completely different situation, so I had to talk to the right people, and they're like, it's okay, you don't have to know what you're doing. Not right away, because you have one mission here, and maybe it will figure itself out.
But you know, I'm also a generalist actually in my work. I design courses and I talk to customers and consultants, and I'm kind of a coordinator, but it's the consultants that have the real expertise. But my skills is to coordinate, to design courses, but also to connect to people that are experts. Okay. I'm really good at that.
Okay.
So that is actually my business idea.
That's get a little inspiring for me. That's,
so I think
sounds
you can
more
do
like
that
for
as
me
well.
than if I'm an expert in building materials.
Because if I see to my consultants that I work with, or I say my consultants, we are partners, of course. They really like to be on stage and talk about their special topics. They like to educate. What they don't like is marketing, go for like selling and get the jobs. I do that. So that's a win-win. And that's why it works good, I think. So
and to find the right people also that you can...
So you don't have to be the expert always. You can have another role that is really important.
Or become an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
But Nils-Erik, do you work with other people? Because you are your own. You don't have any employees, but do you work with others in other consultants in a context, or do you go to a company where you the company says, "Oh, we need your expertise here"?
I have a network of other companies that I both can call when I feel I can't do all the work that I'm offered myself, and we cooperate. And when it comes to Acorns, we've kind of been doing this for a number of years, so we have our different roles in that process, even if I, in that case, do the selling and marketing.
And sometimes they maybe call you in their projects because they need your competence.
It happens,
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So we're talking about consultancy in the new paradigm. How would you define, what is your interpretation of the topic? The consultancy in the new paradigm.
New paradigm, well, I would say we are into a huge change when we're moving away from fossil fuels. We've just started that process. I think this process is going to accelerate in the coming years, and there is no way of going back to using more fossil fuels, even if there are some attempts to find still more oil. And but we're still, even if we've set this goal of like moving away from fossil fuels, we are still extremely dependent on them. So it's going to be a very big change, moving away from that. So that's, we could say, one more materialistic or technical paradigm shift that we see, but then it's also our values. That's a whole different story, or how we view nature and our relationship to nature, to the biosphere, and so on, and how we view our relationship to trees. If you look at what I'm doing, that trees up until now have just been a supply of wood that you can just cut down. But what you're actually doing, you're killing a living organism that still continues to live for a while, for a long time after what's above the ground has.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah,
but
but that's also a shifting value. That people are in different parts of the world more and more starting viewing trees as we have more and more become to view animals. Animals are not just a certain pound or kilo of meat, they're actually living being. We're gradually reaching a point where that's becoming more and more accepted to think that way. But we're also slowly moving towards that way of thinking about trees. And that's also going to be a big question, how we can continue to be dependent on wood products if we have a shifting view on what a tree actually is.
Realize that everyone is contributing. The trees are contributing, and the animals in their way, and seeing it from their perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I haven't read the book. I'm not exactly sure if I'm saying the title in the right way, but it's the title is "Some We Eat, Some We Love, Some We Hate." Some animals we will eat, some we hate, like maybe rats or mice, and some we love, like our cats and dogs. At least in our part of the world, we would never dream of eating them. But that's kind of the way we're viewing trees too. We can cut down 1 million pine trees, and we don't care about it. They're just wood. But cut one tree in a park down, and you'll have an uprising if there wasn't a good cause for it. So why is that tree more important than the 1 million pine trees that were felled? Well, that's
valid questions.
So paradigm shift to me is also how we view. We've gone through shifts in history before, like slavery, one common, well-known thing that we don't accept anymore. But it was accepted at one time, widely accepted. So we go through this paradigm in our views, and I feel we're going through that now when it comes to our relationship to trees and animals.
So Ingrid, you have been working for 25 years as your own.
Yeah.
What difference do you see when you started or now, if we're talking new paradigm shifts and
Yeah, I was thinking of that because in my field, it's a lot now about, and has been for some years, digitalization and AI. So a lot of things that consultants and also our company, can do or has been doing for many years could be done by a robot now, more or less. And what does that take you? Do you give up? Do you shut down? Or do you try to find new services for your customers? Because some things they will do with the technique that is available for them, that we have been doing before. So that is really a challenge, but I like challenges, and I'm also a risk taker.
Yeah.
So I like that. When it's too common and too normal and the same all the time, then I get tired and want to do something
you're both
else.
very brave. From my
Yeah,
perspective.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
But I did start school once.
Yeah.
2 schools actually.
Okay.
In my hometown, because the city schools were so lousy, really.
Okay.
Among the baddest in the
Okay.
worst in the country.
Oh, that's
So I started 2 schools. I had 20% of the municipality kids in school and
really?
70 teachers and 2 headmasters, and that was really fun. So we built a dream school together, all of us, and also the kids, they loved it. And but of course, I wasn't the teacher or the headmaster.
Yeah.
I was the employer and enabler, perhaps.
Yeah.
But then I collected people, teachers, and so on.
you created
They were really good, the best.
yeah.
And then they,
You created possibilities for others too.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I told the headmaster, you have a really easy job. You only need to think of 2 things. 1, keep the budget.
Yeah.
2, make the conditions for your staff the best possible so they can do the good work with the kids. And we had a very close relationship, all of us. It was so fun. It was really fun. But I also risked a lot of money.
Of course.
I came home to my husband one day and said that now we need to, what do you say, punt? When you punt your house? Yeah. You had to risk your house,
Yeah.
3 millions, for the company,
Yeah.
in case you cannot pay the bills. Then you have to sell the house and get 3 millions from that. So my husband wasn't very happy, but he has always supported me, and
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah.
And we never need to
Support
do
is
it,
important
but,
from some, yeah.
yeah. I wouldn't recommend that if you start a company.
Okay.
That's too
I'll try to
risky.
keep out of that area.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it was very, very nice to talk to you both. So
you.
thank you for talking with me about
Sure.
yourselves.
It was a real pleasure, and also to listen to you, who works in a
Very
different
interesting.
field from me.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening.